own personal money,
Well,
which is nice also.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Whirling.
Can you say that again? Call this meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me for prayer. I have some intentions today. I just wanted to make note that Commissioner Kirshner lost his mother-in-law this week, and Ella was a beautiful person and spawned a beautiful family, and we want to recognize her contribution to our county and bless her in the next life. She was the oldest parishioner at Immaculate Conception Church, and that's amazing. 99 years of good life. So I want to recognize her and our intentions. Also, we lost David Zartman, who was a great community servant. He had to call to community service. He was a 10-year village councilman in Bloomville, and was a tremendous advocate for Bloomville and everything Bloomville. And so he will be missed. Actually, I think his funeral is right now.
Yes, it is. So
A great contributor, and we've got a lot of leaders like this that step forward. And we talk a lot about begin with the end in mind, and here's a guy that did it. So just a thought. So if you just bow your heads and remember these two people that we lost, and roll call.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Kirshner?
Here.
Commissioner Teresa?
Here.
All right, minutes. I will accept a motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from Thursday, August 15th, 2009.
So moved.
Second, roll call.
Commissioner Teresa?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirshner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. Any adjustments? Appointments. Chad Stover, U.S. Census Bureau.
Good morning.
So,
Morning.
up here is the best place. We can
Okay.
capture you on the video and
Okay, great.
tell us what you're about today.
Yes, so I see you have your packet. First of all, thank you for having me today. My name is Chad Stover. I'm a partnership specialist with the United States Census Bureau. In the 2020 census that's coming up, the decennial census, we have two lanes. We have an operations lane and we have a partnership lane. The partnership lane, I partner with county commissioners, mayors, presidents of organizations, directors, etc. The operations side is the one that actually conducts the census. They do the counting and they open the offices throughout the state. We have 8 offices this time. We had 17 the last time. So with technology, we are stepping forward in the times with that. So what I'm going to discuss with you today is twofold. First of all is to give you an update on the 2020 census, what it looks like going into 2020. The second piece is talking about a complete count committee. I've already spoken with John DeVoli. Understand you have the Tri-County Complete Count Committee. Marion is also one of my counties. I just received Seneca as well as Wyandotte. What I'm trying to do is each county has their own Complete Count Committee, but still participates in the Tri-County. Reason being, no one knows your county like you. So in moving forward, I'm going to start big, start with the strategic approach and work down to how your community can assist in making sure the 2020 census is as successful as possible. Why do we even conduct the census? First of all, it's mandated by the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, where every 10 years we conduct basically 100% accountability of everyone within the United States. The real reason in the Constitution that we conduct it is to apportion seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. A little bit of history behind that. Last year, or the last census in 2010, Ohio lost 1 seat in Congress. So the other reasons, and the other 3 that also have come about since 1790 when we started the census. First one is redistricting at the federal, state, and local level. I'm sure you're extremely familiar with redistricting. but that comes from the decennial census. The distribution of over $675 billion of federal funding that spans from school lunch program to Head Start, Medicaid, Title I for schools, Pell Grants, SNAP, WIC. So those type of federally funded programs use decennial census data. Also, statistical support for governments as well as businesses. Businesses and governments use our data on a daily basis. Businesses, whether they're going to move to a community based on the income level, poverty level, etc. So if the numbers aren't correct, then you may or may not get businesses into the local community. And additionally, it informs future government decisions, whether it's building a school, building a hospital, putting roads in, things like that. So our goal for the 2020 census is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. In the right place being here in Seneca County. And if it's Tiffin, it's being in Tiffin. So making sure that the numbers are correct, that way that federal funding goes to the correct places. We understand that we did things correct in 2010, but we understand that a lot of things have changed since 2010. Technology has increased. So in 2020, we're using our traditional methods, radio, TV, newspaper, the printed newspaper, because we understand that people still get their information from those. However, we also understand that a lot of people get their information from social media, from online sources. So we're stepping up and we're utilizing those online pieces to get the word out and to put forth a positive census message. And in doing so, we have a communications department, and that communications department will create tweets, Facebook messages, we're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest, and create messages where basically you insert county X, city X, and you can put out a positive census message. That way we're all messaging a common theme. The second bullet up there under what's new, this is the first time that people can go online and do an internet self-response for a census. So now you have the capability, once you receive the card in the mail, to go online, input your information. It's easy, it's safe, and it's important. So once you're on, you do your 10 questions, less than 10 minutes, you hit send, and it's done. So your census is complete at that point. So the other thing that we've understood, and I'll go through a timeline in a little bit of how this is all going to work out, but our field workers, so we hire within local communities. The census is the largest peacetime operation that the United States government that conducts. We hire approximately 500,000 people across the United States to conduct the census. So in doing so, we have online applications, 2020census.gov/jobs. You can go on, apply within your local community. Again, we want people from the local community to serve the local community, because you don't want someone from another community coming in and going door to door or doing address canvassing. That person knows your community. So once they apply online, once jobs become available within the area, they'll be notified, and that is a rolling application that continues on. Finally, we use automated systems. Like I said, we've gone from 17 to 8 offices. We use automated systems for our field workers. Some work from home. Even if you're working from the office, we have one office that's in South Point, Ohio. South Point, Ohio actually has 25 counties that are under it. Reason being, technology. You can have field workers in each of those counties, or one for every 3 counties. They can receive their information, their assignments, via email, text, and then they can also do their payrolls. They don't have to drive back to an office location to turn everything in like they did in 2010. So things have come a long way. The new design for the 2020 census, thank you, I appreciate that. The new design for the 2020 census, I'll work from bottom left and go around to the right. I know it's extremely small, but first we have to establish where to count, and in establishing where to count, we update our master address file. We utilize our master address file, we utilize the Postal Service's master address file. Additionally, we work with counties in the Planning and Development Commission, as well as municipalities, to make sure that our address file is as accurate as possible. We've already done that piece. Now we're conducting address canvassing, which is ongoing right now. Those addresses that we cannot verify digitally, we have to send people out, and it's about 20%. We have to send people out and verify that, number one, that address still exists. Number two, that it is a viable address, someone actually lives there. So you're gonna see people out and about. They will be credentialed. They will have a census bag and a census laptop and verify addresses. And again, once they update that master address file, then we've determined where we need to send invitations to complete the census. The next piece is motivating people to respond in the upper left-hand corner. Step one of that is me talking to you gentlemen today. And to really use your platform, your trusted voices within this community, to get a positive census message out there, to get people to respond and respond with the self-response, not having someone go to their doors. That's the most costly piece of conducting the census. So people, if they're motivated to do it, then they're gonna do it. They have to understand that the government is not out there just to get their information. They have to understand that it's secure. They have to understand that our information does not go outside of the Census Bureau. And we'll talk about privacy and confidentiality. But it's also in this complete count committee that I'll talk about is utilizing trusted voices, other trusted voices, faith-based organizations, nonprofit organizations, places where people go where they do get trusted information because, let's face it, sometimes there's a distrust in government. If they don't trust the government, where do they go? Nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations. So getting them to understand what the census is all about and the fact that it is a good thing for communities. In the upper right is when we actually count the population. In counting the population, the 12th of March is when the online piece opens up. People will receive in the mail, whether it's a card or a mailing. They're kind of back and forth as to whether it's going to be a postcard that has a barcode on it with a number, or whether it's going to be a mailing with that barcode and a number. Reason being, we're not sure if people are just going to throw away a postcard when they get it in the mail. So it's going to work up to that point. But they will receive a first mailing around the 12th of March. That will invite them to go online, utilize that code for their address, go online and conduct the send. Fill out the questionnaire, hit send, and they're complete, and it's secure. They'll receive 2 reminders after that. The first reminder is already loaded in the system, so everyone will receive that reminder. The second reminder, the third time you receive a mailing, if you've already filled out your census, you won't get it. Then, 1st of April of 2020 is Census Day. So if you haven't responded by the 1st of April, that's when you'll receive the questionnaire in the mail. So again, we still have the traditional methods that are out
What's the
there.
date of the first mailing?
March 12th.
March 12th.
March 12th.
Around the 12th of March is when you receive it. The 12th of March is when the online piece opens up. The
So-
reason I say around the 12th
Yeah.
is because we're
Yeah.
staggering it a little bit,
Yeah.
plus mail. We don't want everyone to go online at one time and potentially crash.
So the message is, when you get your card, fill it out, you're done with it, nobody will
Correct.
bother you.
That's correct. Yes, sir, exactly. So if by the 1st of April, which is Census Day, if you haven't responded online, that's when you'll receive the questionnaire in the mail. The questionnaire in the mail, you can fill it out, you can send it back in, or you can call in. In the call piece, over 50 languages are spoken at our call center. So anyone can fill out a census form. Basically, the over 50 languages covers 99.6% of the languages spoken in the United States. So you can fill out a census form. So you have, throughout this entire time, you still have the opportunity to go online. So online is always available, which obviously is the best means. But you can send your questionnaire in or you can call in. You'll receive a couple reminders after that to do that. Around the 1st of May or the first week in May, if you still haven't responded to the census in one of the 3 ways that we've given you to this point, that's when what everyone thinks of with the census, you hear the knock at your door. However, this time, our field workers, they're not carrying questionnaires around in a satchel. They are using an electronic device, whether it's a tablet, a computer. They will take your information, put it in the system, and hit send. So no longer is someone walking around with your information. It is secure at that point. And then finally, and one other piece that I need to mention too. Less than 5% of the US population does not receive their mail at home. They receive it in a post office box. We do not send mail or the questionnaires to a post office box. Reason being, it doesn't always associate with an address. Anyone can get a post office box. That said, Census Bureau employees will deliver to those houses all 3 options. So instead of receiving it in the mail, they will actually deliver it to the house, and that person has the capability to go online, and that'll also be in March, that they'll receive it at their house. Releasing the results not later than the 31st of December of 2020. It goes to the President of the United States, and not later than the 1st of April of 2020, so 1 year after Census Day. It's released back to the states for reapportionment as well as redistricting purposes. This is the part that I really want to hammer home with people, and additionally with your platform and in trusted voices, to make sure that people understand that their information is being held confidential and private. So by Title 13 of the U.S. Code, the U.S. Census Bureau must hold your information private and confidential. The only way your information is ever utilized is in statistical format. So once we receive the information, it never leaves the Census Bureau. We utilize, again, the post office and other databases to complete our information, but it never goes outside of our organization that it could identify you or you. It'll only come out as a statistic. The only time your information is ever released is 72 years later. 72 years later, your information, and it's only,
I don't care.
it's a basic lifespan of a human being. So the information that's released is basically your name and where you lived. It's for genealogical reasons. So it's to be able to place people. So in 2022, 1950s data is coming out. And when I talk to people in libraries, because we partner with libraries, a lot of the genealogists cannot wait for 2022 because a lot happened between 1940 and 1950. So they're looking forward to that data coming out. So we must hold your information. Additionally, a Census Bureau employee like myself, if we were to take your information, Commissioner Thomas, if I were to take your information and someone asked me for your information, if I were to disclose that information to them, 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine. And that's for every Census Bureau employee. I don't get paid that much, so, and that's for a lifetime. So that 72 years doesn't matter to us, it's a lifetime, regardless of how long we work for the Census Bureau. And that's for every employee that we take from communities also. The operational timeline, again, in August, September, we're conducting the address canvassing. February is when group quarters operations begin. Universities, dormitories, institutions, prisons, things like that. That's when we conduct it. So in February, it actually works out very well for colleges, for dormitories, because it's before they go on spring break. If they live here the majority of the time, and they're a resident here on the 1st of April of 2020, which at that point they are counted here.
6
not at
months
home.
in 1 day.
Approximately, yes.
I
And
mean, this is an
They're
important
count-
issue for us.
They're counted here if they count themselves here.
that's correct.
So that's our biggest concern since you opened the
And
door
that's-
is how is the census
Right.
intending to, I mean, we're tending to try to do that locally with we have 2 universities here,
Right.
so it's a big deal. But we are worried and concerned that there's a lot of loss of people who are, I live there, that's where my parents are, that they check that. So what,
Correct, and that's where the complete count committee comes in.
Okay.
And then when you do it as a county in a complete count committee, you outreach to those universities, you get the student advisory boards, you get the president of the organization involved in it, where they make sure that students understand that they're counted here and not back home, whether it's North Carolina or wherever it may be. That said, if they're living in a dormitory environment, that's when we can count them digitally. So basically, we get an enrollment of people, and then we can count them that way. Now, it's the on-campus housing, so that's what you were talking about
Yep.
also. So it's making sure that they understand that they're counted here.
Yep.
So that's where we pull those type of people into the committee, and they make people understand the importance of the census, the 4 reasons that I gave you up front, and the federal funding, because they live here, they use your roads, they use your EMS, they use your fire, everything that comes with that federal funding, they need to be counted here. So in March, the update leave that it talks about, that's where our employees will go around and deliver all 3 options to people that don't receive mail at their house. Additionally, at the end of March, less than 1% of the population is our homeless population and transient population. We count under bridges, overpasses, soup kitchens, shelters, and that's where a complete count committee assists us and the operations side and letting us know where those things are, because no one knows your community like you. So once we know where they are, we can go out and count them, and that's all part of the operations process. Again, April 1st is Census Day of 2020. That's where we like to see elected officials, communities, cities, organizations put on a census event and be out and recognized, where people understand that it's their civic duty, and actually by law they must fill out the census on April 1st of 2020. Now, obviously you're going to receive the stuff prior to, and you can fill it out prior to, but April 1st is set as Census Day, and it's on a Wednesday in 2020. May non-response follow-up, that's the enumerators going door to door and collecting information. Obviously, the most costly piece to the taxpayers is to go door to door, so self-response is the best thing. So how your community can assist, it's outreach and promotion, and it goes back to what you were saying about outreaching to the colleges. Make sure that people understand, people in the community, senior citizens. We understand that if the internet self-response piece comes out first, they may not think that there is a traditional method of filling it out or calling in, so they may discard it at that point. It's too hard, I don't have internet, things like that. That's where we need to educate these types of organizations. So I partner with senior centers, I partner with libraries, schools, so I talk to superintendents, so they can open up the computer centers for these people to come in and actually conduct their census. Going back to Title 13 though, with library employees, et cetera, they really have to watch in helping someone fill out their census, because they're receiving personal information from that individual. They haven't signed the non-disclosure agreement, they haven't sworn an oath to protect that. So we also will assist with that in the operations piece. We just have to know in advance. So each community, again, the knowledge from that community goes into that, and I'm going to show you a slide in a second that has a map on it. But I would put money on it that most of you understand right now within this county where the highest low response score is going to be, i.e. the least likely place that someone is going to respond to the census. And it's based on poverty, it's based on demographics, the 18 to 24-year-old community, because let's face it, if you put it in practical terms, they were 8 to 14 the last time a census was conducted. If they didn't get educated on what the census does, then they're going to be undercounted in the 18 to 24-year-old group. Additionally, children under 5 are the most undercounted population. Reason being, complicated living situations. People just don't think it's important to put that child on there. Births, if you are born on April 1st of 2020, you are counted on the census. So, and again, to put it in practical terms, we go back to the funding piece. Let's say a child is 4 years old, not counted on the census. They're in Head Start, which is federally funded, part of this data. Then they go into 9 years of primary schooling. They're 14 years old in 2030 when the census is taken next. For 10 years, federal funding has not followed that person because they weren't counted. That delta has to be made up somewhere. So what we need to do is make sure that people understand the importance of counting children on it. We understand complicated living situations, parents divorced, parents incarcerated, in an institution, child lives with grandmother, uncle, aunt. Someone needs to count that child and make sure that they are in fact counted. So this is Response Outreach Area Mapper. It takes all of these low response scores within census tracts, and it shows you the demographics that are behind it. So, excuse me while I walk across. So you have Seneca County, and I just chose Tiffin since it's where we're sitting right now. So within Tiffin, in this census tract, which is 9636, 20.5% is the low response score. So basically and there's a margin of error built into that. So basically what that states is 20.5% of the people are not going to respond. This is based off of 2010 census data, so basically what was mailed out versus what was returned. And then the American Community Survey, which used to be the long form for the census. It's the very intrusive form. That's mailed out to 250,000 households across the United States per month. based on what was mailed out and returned, and that's just a sampling. So we use that, and then we come up with this. Now, what the Complete Count Committee can do is look at this and say, based on either income level, poverty level, whether it's race, whether it's age group, or whether it's, and if you scroll to the bottom in that, connectivity. It's actually the percentage of households with bandwidth and what their bandwidth is. And so you can take that and you can tease out of that what you need to do to get after that particular population, that 20.5%, to get them to respond. Is it a nonprofit organization that they go to? Is it a faith-based organization that they go to? Do they listen to their minister, pastor, imam on Saturdays or Sundays? And is that the person that they get trusted information from? If it is, then we need to pull those people into the committee, get them involved, and make sure they go back to their communities and make sure that they're counted. As you can see, Seneca.
How do we compare nationally to lack of response at 24%?
So actually, that's not all that bad. Countywide,
I wouldn't think so.
so if you look in the graph in the lower left, Seneca County, and that was 2010 and 2000. Or I'm sorry, 2000 and 2010. 82% and 81% is how Seneca County did. The city of Tiffin, 81% both times. It beats Ohio, the Ohio average. And the national average is lower than what Ohio's is. However, again, this does not.
I'm having a difficult time understanding. How do you know that it's 80% if you haven't counted the other 20?
There
Have a
are,
denominator.
well, it's based on addresses, the number that we sent out. Additionally, we have access to other databases that are out there.
There's some just general process by which you say this doesn't, the algorithm doesn't make sense. In other words, if we have, our concern is that the college population, university population here is a much higher percentage than it is in most places, right?
Right.
I mean, Tiffin is 17,000 or thereabouts, and the university total, what, David, 7,000? 6,000?
It's about 4,000 total enrollment right now.
But,
Used to be,
regular-
but it depends how you count. We have about 2,600 seated, and in terms of kids that actually stay on campus.
So you talked about that 18 to 24-year-old segment.
Right.
That's one of the least counted. So if we know that there are 3,000 people in that category, and it comes back that Tiffin has got 1,000, is there some general way that you say, geez, this isn't right? We got to go back and fill that gap in?
I would have to get our data specialist person to
Okay.
come over from headquarters.
But I mean, sometimes you have to look at these things logically too. I mean, I'm sure you guys have
Absolutely,
thought
yes,
about
sir.
all this, but
Right, and that's where we do pull some data to fill in gaps. But that's also, we do the group quarters. So if you know that there's 3,000 students that are living on campus here, because the other piece of that, if there's a difference in that, do they live within the county? Are they a commuting type student?
yeah.
Things like that. So that's the piece that we don't know, and that's where getting people to do the self-response is extremely important, and motivating them to do that, because it is the right thing to do. And you can see within the county itself, as you go from brown to the very, very bright blue, the brown is a much low response score, and we work to the blue. So a lot of municipalities have that. It may be because there's a high rental population. There's people that move, and they just move through the town, and they don't feel it's necessary to be counted. That's where the confidentiality and the privacy piece, we understand that there's residences that rent. 2 people are on the lease, 5 to 7 people live there. 5 to 7 people need to be counted on the census because they utilize all the services that are combined with that. They need to understand that that information is not going to be released to the landlord for their eviction purposes. We can't release it to the president, CIA, ICE, FBI. We can't do that. So getting people to understand that may actually turn that around. And the other piece, we don't know how the internet self-response is going to affect these numbers either, because it hasn't been done before. So Complete Count Committee, we ask, again, it's not a requirement, but we ask at the highest seats within a county, and then working our way down through municipalities to form a complete count committee. It's a volunteer organization. At the governmental level, it may be appointee, someone appointed. But below that, you get volunteers from the local community, the United Ways of the world, the other nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations, ministerial alliances. Those are just some examples. Getting
Now,
them involved.
Our complete count committee is being led by the COG, John Foley and Hosky.
Correct.
So, I mean, they're way ahead of where we're at on this.
Correct. So they're doing the tri-county piece, and then if you set up the county, that can feed into the tri-county also. But again, the county will take care of the county's business, because your county is different than Marion. It's different than Wyandotte. So those particular pieces will be taken care of within that complete count committee.
So they're not really covering the whole county?
Oh, yeah, I think they're on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're on it.
They are.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so. you
I mean,
say
we're not gonna try
tri-county
and
is-
compete with them for.
It's the tri-county,
doing this.
it includes our whole county.
Yeah.
That's all I'm clarifying.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay,
That,
yeah.
that is correct.
Okay, because it sounded like it was just part of the county.
But when they meet together,
Yeah,
is it taking care of every piece of your county that needs to be taken care of?
okay.
And so forming, and I talked to John yesterday or the day before about this, and he's kind of supportive of it, to each do your own, but still participate in the tri-county piece. Because it is important, because you have some boundaries that float. You have people that are between counties, et cetera. So it is important to maintain
But we'll have that
tri-county.
conversation. I mean,
Yes, sir.
I mean, they've been great on the census thing, so.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't want to undermine what they're doing or compete.
No,
with
no,
them, so,
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know.
So it's,
they're working hard at it.
yeah,
We've got a kickoff.
March 20th is a kickoff meeting. We're doing like a big information kickoff at the COG's annual meeting. So they're having Rose come in or somebody else come in and talk about census there. And we'll probably be having more meetings with the tri-county committee. So, and I
Right.
just got another huge stack of census data that I have to turn in for all the townships.
Okay.
right. So Rose, I replaced Rose. She's actually my supervisor now.
Ah.
So
okay, well,
I will most likely
congratulations,
speak at
Rose.
that.
Congratulations, Rose.
But leading into that, though, the meetings leading up to that, as well as county fairs, the festivals that municipalities have, putting a positive census message out there. Those are the pieces that I'm talking about within a county that with the tri-county, they're not going to cover. Within a county, those are the things you're going to cover. Additionally, you have different sites that have hard to count populations. And I take what you're saying as far as undermining, whereas this is actually just adding to.
Okay.
So the education phase is me talking to you today. That's part of it. Additionally, it's training a complete count committee. So there's a 2.5-hour training that goes along with it. So all those committee members, we get them together. We give them the education to become census ambassadors. They have the information, whereas if you get a question or from a constituent or they receive questions within the community, they have the background to either find the answer or have the answer at that point. The next part is the promotion phase. That's like I was saying with the festivals and the fairs, whether it's a holiday type thing where the census has a booth, you just put a banner up, or it's mentioned if you have a speaking engagement. Just putting the word out there to start the buzz. And then we move into the motivation and action phase, and that's where we get into specific census events. So around the 1st of April and leading up to a specific census event where everything is about the census. It's not just an add-on. And that's where that complete count committee can organize, resource, and actually put personnel toward that. This is a sample complete count committee. Again, this is for a municipality. And in the packets that I gave you, gentlemen, on page 11 in the lower right-hand corner, you can see this diagram. So that's where you pull in the universities. That's where you pull in the superintendents of the school districts. That's where you pull in all of the other people within the county to participate in this. And what it does for a community, I'm going to boil everything down. The people that are on the committee know the county, they know the language, they know the people, and they know how people are going to react. When you take all those and you put them into a committee, they can come up with an action plan, and that action plan can get a positive census message out within the community, and that community is more apt to respond. That's what we're getting at with this committee. And again, no one knows your county. I live in Delaware County. For me to come up here and tell you this is the way you need to conduct it, first of all, I'd get pushback. But second of all, I don't know everything about your county. You know that. And the people that would sit on this committee know that. For collaboration with us, it's really the promotional support, using those drop-in articles, utilizing your social media outlets, using your trusted voices in the community whenever you're out speaking. If you just mention the census, the fact that it's coming up, because a lot of people don't even know it's coming up on the 1st of April of 2020. And that's from elected officials down to just someone on the, that I meet in passing. The fact that I work for the Census Bureau, they're like, the census. And then they get a 30-minute presentation. So, at this point, do I have any questions? Sorry, I had to throw that one in.
Yeah, I just think from our standpoint, we should get behind what the COG's doing and put our full effort there. I mean, John has been on this.
Right.
And so I just want to support that effort.
Are there some public service announcements we should do on the radio or in print?
Those are starting to come forward, yes.
Okay, but I mean, do they use local voices?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what we like to see.
We even already did an interview, like John DeVoli and I sat down earlier this year to get people ready for this. I'm sure we'll do more of that.
Do you have any kind of clearinghouse for best practices in terms of communication, engaging the community that are done nationally that can be shared with us locally? So, I mean, we'll work, there's a lot of people engaged, but we would love to rip off and duplicate what other people are doing.
Absolutely. So at the national level, they've already begun a little bit of that. We're going to see the majority of it come in the fall.
Okay.
And at that point, our communications department will push it through all of the partnership piece. But just to let you know, Marion County is also forming their own CCC, but still participating in the Tri-County. Again, I'm doing their training next week, as a matter of fact. But it's just pulling in, the Marion United Way and those people that strictly support Marion. That way they know, they can let us know where particular people are.
We'll
And it's not
ask John
that
to do that for us.
Yeah, again, I spoke with John, and he was pretty supportive. But the next, and one thing I didn't mention is the next steps. So if you do decide to form a complete count committee just within the county itself and still participate in the Tri-County, a proclamation or resolution would be a good way to do that. Additionally, to appoint someone as the chairperson for that committee, and then the training, and then we move forward with meetings. And again, I will be that liaison to make that happen. Any other questions? I appreciate your time. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer, but
We might want to think about having off-site meetings at the campuses, just to let them know that we think they're part of our community and that we're part of their representation and the census is coming up. That might be a good way, to.
Did we have a meeting in Heidelberg once? Or was it
Heidelberg?
just the high schools?
Just high schools.
Just might be a thought,
Yeah.
to send that message. Okay, thank you very much.
thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
We get a formal report, an update from Hoskin or whatever.
I'm on their board. I mean, I'm on the COG board.
Okay.
So, yeah. They haven't been as active in the last couple of years, so there's not been as much activity. But
It'll start up, I'm sure.
yeah, they're always looking for opportunities. They just got a grant for Safe Ways to Schools. And it's a $15,000 grant renewal, so it's good. And they do they like to work in a number of projects.
Good.
But that's one of the committees you can lobby for if you want to into real work.
Yeah.
It's not a heavy lift. Kayla, are you here? Okay.
I am here.
Senator Portman's office.
Yes.
In the House.
Came.
You're new?
Yeah, a little new. So I've been with the senator for about 2 years. I took over as the district representative just a couple months ago, though.
Okay.
Um,
Kayla Schreffler?
Schreffler.
Okay.
Yes. So I just mainly came to introduce myself. I cover Seneca County for the senator and 17 other counties in Northwest Ohio. I don't pick any favorites county-wise, but Seneca County is up there because I went to Heidelberg. So,
Whoa,
yeah.
all right.
And so I graduated from there in 2017.
Wow.
So, yeah. Couple of the priorities we're working on, especially at the state level and especially in Northwest Ohio for me, is passing some legislation of ours called the Jobs Act, which would expand Pell Grant eligibility. So in like community colleges, career centers, even some universities, to shorter term programming. So that would make certificates for stuff like CDL, welding, some different medical programs that aren't eligible now for that sort of funding, eligible for funding. We're also engaging the ag community a little bit in light of the rain, other issues they've been having in getting aid from USDA. So that's something that we've been working on specifically in Northwest Ohio. And yeah, I'm just getting out, meeting everyone.
How can we contact you? Do you have cards?
I do have some cards on me, so I can,
I'm pretty sure everybody in this room wants a card.
Were you here last week?
no.
Before? I saw your card somewhere.
Was I? I don't know.
Yeah.
I may have been in Seneca County recently.
Maybe just that.
It's hard to
You can't
keep
confirm or
track.
deny?
You'll be able to
Favorite
give,
county.
you'll be able to give the senator directions, Sunny County, since you know it so well, and get him down here a few times.
Yeah, it's nice. I don't have to use my GPS to get anywhere here.
Oh, that's great.
So it's great.
Yeah, we'll get the Senator Portman in the car with you, bring one down.
We are, actually, so nothing is official yet as far as dates, but he's trying to finish up 88 counties
I think Sharon
hopefully
Brown's been
before
here
they
a
go
couple
back
of
from
times.
recess.
Yeah.
So we are hoping to do it very soon.
Good.
So if there are any suggestions for anything he should see or do in the county,
We'd be glad
we'd
to
be
help
happy
you.
to have those.
Show him
Yeah,
around.
we will,
Buying lunch.
that's probably more a Central Committee question, but we'll get him here.
A few years ago, he was at Sentinel. Remember the van? He brought the camper in.
Yeah.
And I saw him out there. But
Yeah, the office has always been very responsive
They're
to
good.
us, so
Yep.
we appreciate that outreach because, we do have messages that we need to be carried out there, so.
Yeah, and always happy to try to find answers whenever I can. If the county's ever seeking any grant funding, anything like that, we're happy to be helpful there as well. So I will drop off some of my cards before I head out today.
Great.
And feel free to contact me whenever.
Kayla, thank you.
Thank you, welcome. Charlene, do you want to go?
Yeah, I
We're
can.
doing guests.
I can, ours is quick and easy. So we wanted to touch base with everybody regarding the AEP Ohio Electric Vehicle Incentive Program for the charging stations. Per your request, I reached out to both the City of Tiffin and the City of Fostoria. The City of Tiffin authorized a pre-application for 2 charging stations in Lot 7, and that was submitted early this week. The City of Fostoria authorized a pre-application for 1 charging station at the parking lot across from Dell's, and that was submitted this morning because I had to wait for an account number before I could submit. So I have the account number and I can submit it. So those 2 both have been submitted as pre-applications per their requests, and I wanted to give you that update. I think in light of that, it is the decision of the commissioners whether or not you want to submit your own separate application. But if the city's requesting 2 downtown, I mean, you can make that assumption.
I like it.
Hey,
I think it's great.
the thing I would like to request from the commissioners is a letter of support for both applications for the City of Fostoria and the City of Tiffin.
What's that cost us?
Absolutely nothing. I don't know how much time your staff's gonna have to put into writing a letter of support, but it shouldn't cost you much. But just a nice, and it can be the same letter that says we support the City of Tiffin and the City of Fostoria's application. I would like to request that just so we can kind of beef their applications up a little bit when it comes that time.
Sure.
ABM has been contacted to come do a site visit on both of those. Our main point of contact is out of country at this moment, so she did respond and said, I'm out of country, but we'll get on this as soon as I get back. So that's our update on the AEP. So I don't want to make an assumption, but I'm believing you don't want to proceed as a county.
No, we're good.
Okay?
Right?
Yeah, I'm good.
So-
Mike, you okay with the letter?
We know how Mike feels.
As I was asked, the outcome is as it is, so.
I think this is, I mean, given our concerns and giving.
Cities are doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win for the community, so.
And then just two smaller updates. They're on the program year 2017 CDBG program. So Tony, this is new to you. I get that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll get you through it, okay? The CDBG grant, we are to have all of our funds expended, projects done by the end of August, right? We did an amendment for the grant to do the instead of doing the CSB restroom, we're going to do the Village of Bloomville some park upgrades. Well, one of the suppliers cannot get me the product by the end of August. They're flat out cannot do it. They can't get it to us till September. I got a hold of Haley, our representative, and she advised me that we need to request a 60-day extension. So it's an amendment for 60 extension on our grant. All we have to do is a letter. I've already supplied that over for Shane to sign. And then I just submit that over and they'll review it and do the extension for us. So we have 60 extra days through the end of October. Product is on order. I just need to get this amendment in so that we're not violating a rule. Unfortunately, beyond my control, I can't control a supplier. They just can only do what they can do. So I wanted to give you an update on that. And we did receive the funding has been reallocated as requested from the CSB restroom over to the Village of Bloomville's small park improvement that we're gonna do for them. And that park improvement, just as a reminder, is some trash receptacles, some mulch for their playgrounds, and a chemical control feeder for the pool. One of the chemical control feeders for the pool.
Good.
So just wanted to give you a little update on that. And let you know where we're at. As you know, I always keep you in the loop so that you know what's taking place. So,
Thank you.
no problem. I think that's all I had for you.
Okay, good, thanks. Stacy, County Administrator's Report.
Yeah, just have a few things, some scheduling. Charlene had asked, Gossman is ready to come up and give us an update on our buildings master plan. And he's gonna be up here on the 4th and the 5th, since the 5th is our board day. Wondering if we could do like a 9:30 work session to allow him to come up and give us a brief update on the plan, if 9:30
Good
will
for me.
work.
Yes,
Good for me.
good.
Okay. The mitigation planning meetings out to public safety, just a reminder, they're today, one at 3 o'clock and one at 7 o'clock.
Mitigating what?
Anything, everything.
This public input.
Whatever.
Public input, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is John Spar heading that up?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, we actually got a grant to do this plan. We have to do it once every 5 years.
Okay.
So this year was up, and so we got a grant to cover the full cost of the plan.
Good
We
job.
want to invite people because I believe he gets reimbursed $25 or rounded per head of every one of the tents. So Jimmy, you might want to put a little.
Yep, already did it. Already did it
Yeah,
today.
good.
Sounds like a great class trip to me, civic class or something.
Yeah.
Yep, they're hoping all the elected officials, department heads can attend as well. But it's been on the calendar, so you guys know, just wanted to remind you. Next week, our meeting is on Friday at 10 o'clock instead of Thursday. We did get notification of the next Township Association meeting. I think Nikki forwarded it to you. September 19th.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah, I think we sent it to you.
Okay.
So you can either respond yourself to if you're gonna go, or let Nikki know and she can RSVP for you.
In.
And
I do have a buildings and grounds application I received from Sister Paulette, and they are requesting a peace pole to set on the side of the courthouse. I think they're looking like on the Washington Street side, the sidewalk there. I had to Google the peace pole because I wasn't really sure what it is. She's asking for like a month or at least 2 weeks up to the event, which the event is on September 21st. I only heard back from 2 of the judges. One was fine with it and with the full request, and another one was okay with it, just not the length of time, so, kind of, and sheriff, obviously, it's a.
Outside in his care.
Yeah,
So is that a question? 2 weeks or 4 weeks?
or, yeah. if-
I don't wanna be the one to turn a sister down, so. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I agree
weeks,
with
good.
limiting it. Can't be there forever.
2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I'm good with
2
it.
weeks. Okay.
How big is this peace pole? You looked it up.
6 foot
Is it like
tall.
A foot tall?
6 foot.
Okay.
6 foot.
Thanks, Shirley.
Self-standing pole. I don't know if I didn't think I printed off.
Yeah, you know the one in Heidelberg, as you walk in? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know where that one is?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll get that back out to her.
6 foot self-standing pole. I guess the relatives like that, yeah.
I don't know if anybody's noticed, the RTA building, we did have that cleaned. We wanted to
Boom!
get it done before the
Spring.
Heritage
Yeah.
Fest.
It wasn't really white enough.
Right. Well, we thought it was black there for a while, so let's find out it is white underneath
Did a
there.
nice job.
So
Yeah,
I think it
yeah.
cleaned up good, at least it's a temporary, moving forward, I think it'll look good for the Heritage Fest.
Plus they're taking care of those railroad ties and stuff on their
Yes.
side of the building.
Yes.
That's looking a lot better too.
Yep, yep, finally got those
Good.
taken care of. Just a quick update, I was looking at the schedule, I'm looking to send out budget requests, like the second week of September. Basically give departments about a month to get them back to me, and we're hoping to have our meetings through October, November, and hopefully passing it. My goal is November 21st. Last year it was November 20th, just because that's the way the board fell, so my goal is the 21st.
And you did it.
Yeah,
We
when
did
do
it
we,
last year.
when does the budget commission actually set the amount? for the year?
They will give us a preliminary amount,
Yeah, October-ish,
yeah, and then
Okay.
they'll give us the firm number
right.
December after we
Yeah.
pass the budget, but we'll have a good
Okay.
idea of where they're standing by then. So, I think that's all I had.
When are we going to pave the taxiway? Is that, we're gonna get that in this season or no?
I don't think this season.
Okay.
I think it's, Kylie's got some paperwork out there that needed to be signed, the actual agreement. I don't think we're gonna be able to get it in this year. I can check.
We've got a approved bid.
No, they're getting ready to put that out.
Okay. Lost track of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. The agreement was with for the grant.
Nice.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You have to spend it this year?
I think we have to have it contracted this year.
Contracted.
So that's.
There was money that was gonna roll off, so we do need to do something.
So if it's contracted and that's spent, we're good.
Yep, we have to get the grant paperwork
Right, I mean, they
back
put it-
to, by the state by tomorrow, so I think she's got it for you to sign today. Derek
They
looked
did the
at it last
design,
night.
we just haven't left the bid.
Bid, right,
Okay.
And so we should be seeing that
soon.
action pretty soon.
We don't have that scheduled yet, do we? I don't think so. No. Okay.
Okay, good.
Commissioner reports, Tony? Anything?
You know, nothing. I went to my first EMS meeting last night. I know you've both been there. It was really interesting, good meeting. Attended an FEDC meeting earlier in the week, Fostoria, it was great. Glad it was there. And just trying to immerse myself in the Holly's committees and kind of get the calendar set, but it's a good week. This afternoon,
Did a
I'll
nice
be-
radio interview this morning. we all
a
heard.
radio interview,
Yeah.
and this afternoon I'll be, I think this is a surprise, but I'll be traveling down to Ontario, Ohio. So Mary Lee Krieger from Autumnwood, she is going to be recognized as a senior citizen of the year for the area. We passed, and I have in my possession a proclamation from the county, so I'll be presenting that to her today. I know Shane did a few last week. That's always a neat experience, I guess. Well deserved, so.
Somebody makes homemade pies down there from last year.
Bring one back.
Yeah.
I'll bring it back.
I'll bring a few back.
That's a good dish, yeah. Yeah.
Mike, you have anything?
I I don't. There was a few meetings throughout the week. The land bank continues to organize. It's been a transition with the new treasurer, et cetera, but we're getting to the point. They've got a number of requests for payments into the state, and once that's all done, they can start releasing those properties and greening them up or fixing them up, one of the two. But there's a lot of good progress with land bank.
Good. I just have a couple things. The White House Intergovernmental Affairs Committee has invited us again to come to Washington DC. Holly and I went before, funded our own way, but had some good takeaways. I'm still looking at that. I think it's like an October 3rd date. It's a Thursday. So as we dial in on that, the logistics are kind of getting a little tough to go because I have to be back for another Dame game. Saturday.
Absolutely.
But there was enough takeaways that I think it was worth my investment of time. So I'm looking at that. So I'll let you know if the logistics work out. Another thing, Mike had brought forward an idea about working with a group down in Columbus for legislative help, and Mike Ditto and that gang. And so Mike asked me to meet with them. I met with them. Mike's met with them. I called their references, and they check out in a big way. So we have the capital budget coming up, and I think we could put a better foot forward if we had a little bit of help with that. So, Mike, if you would be willing to call the Ditto group.
Sure.
That's not their name. They've got a fancy name, but it's Mike Ditto. and see if we can put something together where we can collaboratively come up with our capital project plan and be a little bit more thoughtful and organized about it, and then he can marshal that through the capital plan and have some kind of limited engagement. I think that makes sense to me. If it makes sense to you, I know you're a little new to this conversation.
Yeah, we've been trying to get them together with you as well, Tony Thray, Ian Kura.
We haven't
Mike
number
Ditto.
set aside, do we pay him yet? That's
No.
part of what he'll get back to us with.
I trust Mike's negotiation
Well, we
ability.
kind of had a false start with trying to do this before, but as I told Commissioner Thomas, we were kind of doing the definition of insanity here, trying to do the same kind of thing, get some funding from Columbus, and it just doesn't work unless you have some people on the inside that can
Sure.
get you on the agenda. So we're trying to get a little more money coming back to the county, especially with capital budget year.
So we still have to do our work, and our work is getting the priorities. And I think we're gonna have to get TCEP and regional planning, the mayors, the villages, and look at come up with some collective goals. And Rep. Reineke, his comment to me was it needs to be collaborative and it has to be inclusive of multiple jurisdictions. That's what sells. So
I think mostly it's preparation and timing. What happens with these guys is that a lot of times, as people know that deal with folks in Columbus, there'll be a meeting scheduled that gets canceled or postponed or deferred or whatever, but you'll get a phone call saying, the meeting you thought was gonna be Tuesday is really Friday, you need to be here for that one. Or you need to have some input here, you need to do some background work. Rather than going down there and making howdy-doody calls and, taking a guy for coffee, you can actually have some meaningful business in Columbus.
So will you take the lead on that one?
Sure.
Okay. Then the other thing that, something that was brought up by you last week, Mike, was the local control issue for one development and supporting, Rep. Reineke's effort there. And, I would like to not lose sight of that, because I think that's important. And, I just don't know how the best way for us to get together and say all the things that we want to say. I'm willing to, put something together and circulate it or have the conversation here or whatever you want to do, but I don't want to lose sight of that because I think that's an important narrative.
Yeah, Bill's got a bill pending, William has a bill pending. That would allow for a referendum, in the affected townships as it relates to.
It went and then it got pulled off,
Yeah.
and then, you know,
Be
I think it
resubmitted.
needs refined. I think it needs to, it's probably gonna have some kind of legislative legs. I mean, there's a number of reforms,
Yeah.
obviously, some of them you
I want to
identified
talk to her.
Right.
that need to be done, just because of the way the technology's changed, the way these projects are being taken. We all understand that. So, and what I think is we have unique information here because we've been living it for the last year.
Yeah.
And the rest of the state, when I talk to folks, they don't know what we know because they haven't lived it, you know? And so I typically wouldn't want to opine on these things, but in this case, I think the state's looking to us to say, what are some reasonable reforms that need to happen? And there are a number.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there should be some folks who lean towards the positive side of the wind, and some folks who lean the other way. And we ought to get them all together and talk about whether this is a fair way to move forward. I'd like to have voices on both sides say, you know what, if it's a referendum and that makes sense, let's do that.
It's time sensitive though, so we have to, right, I mean,
We need to get our minds around it pretty
Yeah.
quick, so.
There has to be a template for the future for other
That's right.
things, rather than having everybody go through the pain.
Right. All right, that's all I had. All right, any old business? New business?
Okay, I have some appropriations, supplemental appropriations for the sewer district, contract services for Honey Creek for $2,500. This is the request that Mark had come in a month ago and talked to us about fixing the driveway.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have a supplemental appropriation request.
Just real quick on that,
Sure.
what we suggested to him was, we have a lady hire her own contractor to get it fixed, is that what we're doing?
I think so.
Okay, because I just don't want this to come back and bite us, that we fix it and then it doesn't work.
Mark in my office. We can
All
ask
right.
him.
Yeah. I will follow up with
I
Mark
think
to make sure
I
that.
think the
it's-
consensus was we agreed to do it,
Yeah,
but here's the 2,500, you get it fixed to your satisfaction.
yes.
Okay, I have a supplemental appropriation request for the replacement of 2 pumps at the Honey Creek Station and the equipment line for $3,000. I have a request for the Honey Creek Station, the contract services for $2,342, and an additional $1,000 into supplies for the Honey Creek Sewer District to finish out 2019. This is at the request of Brad Bohr. He's the gentleman that contracts with Mark to take care of the sewer districts.
And all this money is in the sewer district account.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, yep. See, and I think I have that all through the sewer district, yep. Now I have a request from juvenile probate court. They're asking for $1,400 into their juvenile court special projects fund for the Henson and Associates, updating their website to a responsive design, 42-hour work total, but it's in their special projects fund. Just need a supplement for $1,400. And the last one is a supplemental appropriation. This is the request of the treasurer. Needs the additional $1,100 into other expense. Didn't say what this for. I think this was for one of the dues that he has. But he didn't put a description in here. But it's in his street tag line for $1,100. And I have one other one. I have a resolution establishing the DDEP. See if there's some.
Tony, you know what that is, right? The DDEP?
No.
That's okay.
We're not supposed to know.
Make something up.
The
Something like drug
dri-
driving.
Yeah, is drugged driving.
Education program.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Obviously, how to do that, or what?
How to do that, yeah. This-
Years of practice.
This is at the request of the Sheriff's Department. Fund number 1143. And those are all I have.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I will second. Just a bit of discussion.
Discussion.
I'd like to, we have a letter of congratulations to Andrew Calnow on the splash pad and the host run, I think. I'd like to do a formal resolution for him, so maybe, you know.
So
it
moved.
could be okay.
Well, let's finish this and we'll come back to that. I mean, one suggestion I do have is if we have acronyms on here to spell them out, just for transparency purposes, you know, we're pushing our agenda out and, you know, for our own edification and for, you know, transparency to the public, to keep the acronyms at a minimum as possible. So, roll call.
Commissioner Pereira?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. Commissioner Kirschner made a motion for a formal resolution.
Yeah, I guess I could just like us to do that, somebody can prepare it, and we can bring it back in the next meeting for a formal resolution, how's that? In
Yeah,
addition to the next letter, that's fine.
I mean, we can
do it now and so.
Okay.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Second.
Whereas, and therefore, and so be it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Roll call.
Commissioner Pereira?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. And, you know, we were a nice part of that project, and so I really feel great that, you know, our old building went
Yeah.
down and a beautiful place came up, and so that was a good maneuver.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So, and I don't know if, maybe I missed it in old business, but I have a question for David. Zach, can I put you on the spot? So I just want to get this clarified with, you're aware of the proposed expansion of Carmoose, is it called Carmoose now?
Yeah, Thomas.
Where they want to vacate the road and they own the land across the street. Are you familiar with this?
I've heard this, yes.
Okay. So we had the engineer in here last meeting and we were asked to, you know, what's our blood pressure on this project? And it's, to me, this is a cart before the horse. So one of the questions is, do we as a county have our engineer invest 500 hours of time doing this study? Because Carmoose can't really give us an economic impact until they have the results of all these studies that we're gonna do for them, basically. My question is, why can't Carmoose, you and Carmoose talk, and they say something to the effect, if this is $2.5 million and we move forward, this would impact and create 100 new jobs or blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. So we would have a little indication of, and this is a big deal, vacating a road and getting all these people involved. And I just find it, to me, I find it a little odd that we can't have at least have a it's not a secretive thing. I mean, they want to vacate a major county road. So that's my question to you.
So that was the first we heard of it, for that
Yeah.
particular aspect. So we talked internally to reach out to Carmoose. So we're working with other employers in the area on potential other developments that we don't know this may or may not impact. And so absolutely we can do that. We can go through our traditional process to see what all investments are involved in addition to the infrastructure and look at what's going on with the company and come up with a non-specific to the infrastructure economic development impact assessment.
Yes.
Both in terms of what they will be doing, but also in terms of what they're currently contributing to the economy, to provide some background to absolutely.
And
We're already moving in that direction.
In fairness to the engineer, I mean, he's the engineer.
Absolutely.
He's asked to do the study, but it comes before the commissioner.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, we have a great relationship.
We all look at
Yeah,
each other,
absolutely.
Okay, you
Yeah, I
got,
mean,
you
yeah,
want to add
Mark-
anything to that?
Yeah, Mark has been very fiscally responsible, right?
Absolutely.
With what he does, and he wants to do the engineering work on this project. I understand, he is the county engineer. My concern, and the prosecutor happened to be here, is there is no mechanism in place for us to be reimbursed for his 500 hours of work. And if it turns out that after his work is done, it's not a feasible project, you know, we're kind of stuck with the bill. And yet the only reason that we did it was at the request of a private industry, right? So it just seems to me that there's got to be some way to work out with whoever this private industry is to say, you're asking us to perform an analysis here.
Right.
We want some money in advance to be able to do that, because in the event that it doesn't work out, you know, we're stuck with making the analysis or giving you the analysis and at no cost to you. So.
Yeah, I mean, so just as part of our general retention and expansion, knowing that something was, I mean, that's like, okay, so, I mean, there are 1,600 companies in the county that we're looking to reach out
Yeah.
to. And we will, so as soon as, so you're directing us to get you an assessment, we'll do that.
Yeah, if we could find a way, to do the work ourselves, because it would certainly be more reasonable than the county engineer doing it than a consultant, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we
so-
work with Mark on many other projects out in
Right.
the county. He, you know, he is a business-friendly minded guy and wants
Yeah.
to see what we can do to support, and we're the same way, so. But yeah, I don't think Commerce would have a problem with assisting us in putting together a economic development impact justification for investing county resources into an.
I would just like part of that to include reimbursing the county in case it doesn't work out.
We can work on
I'm
facilitating
not
that
sure.
discussion in some way.
Prosecutor didn't seem to think there was a way to do that, but I would think that as long as somebody agrees to it, there's always a way to do it.
We can work on facilitating that conversation.
I'm good.
The other thing that I would add, I mean, it's a Carmouche story, but as the township trustees brought up last week, there are other businesses in that footprint.
Correct.
S&D, Custom, MGQ, M&B Asphalt, you know, they all occupy that kind of, it's
Correct.
kind of an industrial park. And so, you know, along with it, I think there are other business concerns that you should.
We have visited and have connected with a number of those
Yeah.
other businesses.
So,
Just not directly with Commerce.
canvass all of them, yeah.
We already have and are in the process, so we just don't talk about everything that we're doing.
We want industry to expand,
Absolutely.
you know, but we want to make sure that we're fair to everybody else.
But we'll start by figuring out what's going on, then we'll have a conversation, we'll figure out what the next steps should be.
That's part of our decision
Yep,
in the end.
gotcha.
is Taking that data, yeah.
Happy to serve.
Thank you.
Of course.
Good job, Commissioner Paredes.
All right, public comments. Seeing none, we are adjourned.